Friends, good morning. My name is Matt Maybear. I'm the Executive Vice President of the New Hampshire Homebuilders Association. Thanks for being on here. Our friend Brad Solomon, who is a member of the Homebuilders, he does a lot with us. He helps us hugely. He reached out and said, there's an issue going on that I want to talk about. But before I turn over to Brad, I want to tell you a little bit about him. He's one of the co-founders of SC Digital. They're a multi-million-dollar company. He has an MBA from UNH. He also teaches at UNH in digital marketing. He has over 100 clients. And so, like I said, it's one of those great success stories of, he and his partner found it and they grew into $1 million business, and now he's willing to help us at no charge to you. So with that, I'm going to shut up, turn over to our friend Brad Solomon from SC Digital. And Brad, educate us and make us smarter.
Cool. Yeah, well, thank you for having me today, Matt. I was working with a client on some lead follow-up processes, and it kind of dawned on me. I mean, we're a lead generation agency largely. We generate a lot of leads for a lot of our clients. And one of the issues that we see happening is oftentimes that many of our clients first come to us and they've not done digital advertising in the past. They've primarily done most of their marketing through either word of mouth, or most of the leads that have come to them are coming to them because they went on their website and they've done some research on them, on the company, and so on. And so what we're trying to do is broadcast that company's messaging out to a wider number of people. And naturally, what happens when you do that is you get response, but you often get response from folks who are not quite as interested in you as the customers that you've been getting all the way through. They didn't already research your company necessarily. You might be popping up in a social media feed and they've never heard of you before, but you said something that inspires them to take some sort of action. So they take action, but that person is not at the same level of the proverbial buying funnel that maybe the customer who was referred to you by a friend, or whose neighbor you just did work for, or they've been on your website and they've researched your company, and so now they're calling you because you're on a short list of 2 or 3, right? So lots of times we're generating leads for people that are much higher up in the funnel. And that's hard. It's hard for a lot of business owners because it requires that you have longer follow-up processes in place, different follow-up processes in place, and that you think about people more as folks who will ultimately buy, but we need to earn the right we need to earn their business. And so I see a lot of opportunities that get generated both by us and just by businesses themselves. And just with a little bit of extra thought and care put into the lead follow-up process, they could, without spending any more money in marketing, they could exponentially increase the success rate on those inbound opportunities. So I just kind of wanted to share some strategies that we have implemented both in our agency and for some of our clients that have worked and that are generating a lot of additional buzz and a lot of additional production. So what I wanted to do first is I put together a quick presentation just to kind of walk through some of the basic high-level tenets, and then I'd love to answer any questions after the fact if folks have any. So is it possible for me to share my screen, Jack and Matt? It says that I cannot yet, and that you have to enable that.
Yeah.
You have to enable that.
Let me just get that set up quickly.
Looks like I can now. Here we go. Okay. So the first thing that I want to put out there is that everybody on this call probably gets leads, right? We all get leads. We get inbound phone calls. We get leads to our website. We might get people that chat with us through social media. We're all getting leads, and all of these leads are at different parts of this funnel. And if we're in business, if we're in marketing, we've all looked at this funnel, and we've had this funnel, sort of driven down our throats forever, right? You've got people up here at the top that may or may not even be aware that they have a problem, or that you have a solution, or that you have a solution to the problem that they have, all the way down to here where they're pretty much ready to go. And they want to buy. Most businesses that we begin working with are used to working with customers who are already down here. they're already pretty close to the bottom of that. They're on a short list. They were referred. They're in the evaluation phase. They've got a 2 to 3, they got 2 to 3 companies that they're researching, and that's that. The first thing that I really want to start out with is just the understanding that just about everybody who does inquire through your website or through your social media channels or whatever the case may be, we want to assume that they are all going to buy eventually. Now, that of course may not be 100% true all the time, right? But like Ricky, for instance, in your case, if somebody owns a home, eventually, and it may not be right away, but eventually they're putting a roof on that house. There's really not much of a chance that they're not going to have to do that eventually. At least maybe 75 to 80% of them are going to do that unless they move or unless they're renters or whatever the case is. But if they own, they're probably buying. And so just maybe not right away. But when we look at our whole lead mix, we want to sort of approach each lead as if they will all be buyers eventually. I think that's the healthiest way for us to do it, so that we get the most out of them and we look at them in the most positive light. Here's the thing. Like I said before, most businesses are used to starting down here at the bottom of the funnel with many of their customers. And therefore, that is really what they're staffed up for. That's what they're trained for. And that's fine. But the main problem that I see is that because most businesses are most comfortable working with customers that are hanging around here at the bottom, what happens is the costs to generate those leads get bid up. And that's the reason why many of us who run, for instance, Google paid search ads, right? You're paying $20 to $30 per click, right? So if somebody's looking for a roofer close to them, right, Ricky, if somebody's looking for a roofer near me, their cost per click is, your cost per click on that is $15, $20, $30 because the cost for that is being bid up by all of the other people in the industry that want access to that customer. And so it just makes everything way more expensive. I think we've seen the same thing with a lot of the third-party lead providers, like the Home Advisors and the Angie's Lists of the world. I know that they've merged now and now they're called Angie. But basically, if you're playing in a sandbox that all of your other competitors are playing in, you can pretty much be assured that your costs are going to be higher. And because of the way that many businesses are looking for leads, most of your competitors are going to be playing at the bottom here, which is the reason that, and here's what the typical process is for many companies, at least that we see, is, we get a lead, we make a phone call, we maybe make 2 phone calls, we may call them within the first 5 to 10 minutes, we may not. And I cut my teeth in the car business. So I saw this all the time. So I managed just so everybody knows, I managed a group of business development representatives that were literally just in charge of following up with people that had inquired through any of our third-party lead providers and trained those people and jumped on the phone, helped them close deals. So I'm very much entrenched and understand this. And one of the reasons that we dominated in that environment was that most of our competition did not have that follow-up process in place. They would call one time. If they didn't get the person on the phone, they would assume that they weren't serious. If they didn't get a call back, they would assume that they weren't going to be buying. They would say that they're tire kickers or whatever the case is, right? So on my side, I was like, good, I want them to feel that way, because I know that these people will buy. We just need to be better than everybody else. We just need to have a better process, a more creative process, and a longer follow-up process. So that's really what I've been focusing on, because I believe that the real opportunity for growth is at the top of this buying funnel, when people are either just becoming aware of your product or service, or they're not even aware yet. They don't even know that they need it yet, or that they can even get it, or that it may be a good option for them. And the reason why I think that this is true is that, number one, there's a lot less competition up here. There are fewer companies that are going to be operating up here and advertising to this customer, trying to create opportunities. Therefore, because you're in lower competition, you have the ability to buy your customers for less money, right? You have the opportunity to buy your opportunities for less money. These people are often less price sensitive because they haven't done all the research. right? They haven't sat there and compared you with 2 or 3 other providers of your same service. You're creating the idea in their mind, and therefore you have a little bit of additional latitude because you're working with them all the way through. So, but the problem is, or the hard part is, and the reason why this is not accessible to many companies is that they don't necessarily have the infrastructure in place to be able to make these types of customers profitable. They maybe haven't invested in a really good sales process, or they haven't invested in having the appropriate amount of personnel, the right sales training, right, to be able to make these customers pop out at the bottom for them. But if they do that, and if they do some of the things that I think we'll talk about in this webinar over the next 20 minutes, and if they really work on refining that process, then you can acquire customers at a lower cost per acquisition. And that's ultimately what we're going for. So another generality that I always like to establish is that when it comes to marketing, you typically either pay in terms of cost, in terms of money, or you pay in terms of time. And so going back to our funnel, right, our buying funnel, what I typically find is that you either pay more on a cost per lead basis because your customer is lower in the funnel, and so you're paying $200, $300, $400 per lead in the form of super high cost per click, or you've got you're buying Google local services and it's $200 to get access to a customer, whatever the case is. So you either pay with additional cost or you pay with time, meaning you pay less for a lead, but that lead, because it is higher in the funnel, is going to take you longer to close. It's going to require more phone calls, or it's going to require more creative follow-up process. And usually we see those two things those two things are in conflict with one another. So the more you pay for a lead, typically the higher likelihood it is that you're going to be able to close that because your competition is what has forced the price up, because your competition knows that that's a higher likelihood of closing. That's why it's more expensive to get somebody to your website using paid search than it is to generate a lead in social media, which is going to be lower cost. But the key is there's actually a third option, and it's to differentiate, which is what we're going to talk about here a little bit, and disrupt. And what we see is a lot of companies that are differentiating and disrupting are the ones that are really taking over their industry because they're doing things that nobody else is thinking of doing. And you can think of your big brands. You can think of the Ubers of the world. You can think of the Netflixes of the world, right? These are the ones that everybody always sort of thinks of, is that while everybody else is doing this thing over here, there's one competitor that's doing something entirely different and disrupting an industry. And as service providers, we want to be living in that space as well and providing something for our customers that isn't like what they've been getting elsewhere. And if you implement processes like this, then you don't really need to choose, to either pay more or take more time. So I'm going to share some of the things that we've been doing with our company and with some of our clients that really make a big difference. The first one is video. So here we are, we're all on a webinar right now. We're all together. We would normally have to drive to wherever we're going to be, and we don't have to because we've got video. But beyond video is, or beyond Zoom, is this whole idea of personalized video. So when a lead comes in our agency, for instance, one of the first things that we do is, yes, we pick up the phone and we try to call that person. And obviously we're going to send an email as well. But the difference is that many times, or most of the time when we do that, we're going to do a little bit of research on that client, pull up their website, and we're going to use, I don't know if has anybody ever used Loom? Anybody ever tried Loom? It's basically a video recording software. It's very, very good. And it allows you to immediately record yourself, and then the video and you can record your screen, or you can record yourself from your phone. The video automatically gets hosted in the cloud and you can immediately send it. So there's no uploading it to YouTube or waiting around on things like that. It's just a very, very quick way to send along a video. And we've been doing this for many of our clients because number one, it's making that personal connection. You know, I mean, if somebody sends in a home advisor lead or an Angie lead and you're a service provider and they're sending in an Angie lead, you know what's happening next, right? They're getting bombarded with phone calls from 15 different service providers, and everybody is pretty much saying the same thing if the customer even picks up the phone, right? And by the end of the day, their voicemail is full because everybody has left a voicemail and most people are kind of doing the same thing. So by using personalized video, you immediately differentiate yourself from everybody else and you make that personal connection. People can see that you're a real person. They get to know you a little bit better in a way that they just cannot do if you're just calling. So that's one of the main reasons. Number two, it's totally unexpected. People are not thinking that you're going to do this. They're not thinking that you're going to introduce. So you're interrupting the pattern that they're already going through. They're being bombarded with phone calls by a lot of people, and here you are with something totally different, introducing yourself, generating authority, demonstrating that you know what you're talking about, right? And some of the people on this call, I follow you on social media. You do a great job of this anyways. Ricky, I'm constantly following your stuff in social, and you guys are always, establishing yourselves as authorities in the space. And so what we're saying here is that you can do that when a new lead comes in, without putting a whole lot more time into that follow-up process. In fact, it cuts down on the follow-up process because you quickly jump out in front of your competition, whereas otherwise you may just be on a level playing field until you ultimately get that person on the phone. Number three, it gives you the ability to provide value in advance, which plays into the reciprocity factor, right? We all want to return a favor if it's done for us. So when you take the extra initiative to introduce yourself, put yourself on camera, and maybe deliver some value to your prospect in advance of them doing anything for you, again, you immediately jump out in front of your competition, right? And so that could just be some basic tips, right? So depending on the service that you're in, that could just be a tip on something that people can do this time of year to accomplish whatever it is that they may want to accomplish associated with your business. For us, we pull up a video of their website and we show them a few things they're doing really well. And then we show them a few things that they could easily improve with or without our help, because it's not like I'm trying to sell you. I'm just trying to provide value to you. And if we're providing value, then we immediately elevate ourselves in that customer's mind in a way that nothing else can do. And quite frankly, it gives you an unfair advantage. I mean, plain and simple, since nobody else is probably doing this in your industry, it gives you an advantage over them. It gives you latitude. You have the luxury of voice inflection, of being able to demonstrate your enthusiasm and have that radiate in a way that most people cannot do with the written word, and most people cannot do on a voicemail that sounds just like everybody else's for the most part, that probably doesn't even get listened to. And so if you use something like Loom, it shows a little video thumbnail in the email so that they can actually see that there's a real person. And if you really want to get wild about it, you can write the person's name on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard and hold it up in that thumbnail so that they know that it's actually for them. And they don't think that it's just like the same video that you send to everybody else. We've seen tremendous results. We do this with all of our new inquiries, and we also do it with all of our proposals. Because our proposals tend to be very, very long and detailed, and most people do not want to read them all. So we do, but some people do. So we do a 3 to 4 minute video walking through the key points, and we take it from there. Here's some general comments that we've had when we send along these personalized videos. So I just wanted to share them because I wanted to demonstrate that I'm not just preaching that we should all do this, and we're doing this ourselves. And we're doing it because it works. And when I told Matt that I wanted to talk about this with people, it's because it's kind of an unknown thing that I don't think a lot of people are doing that I really wanted to share. People do really appreciate this. You'll have some that don't get watched for sure. But the thing is, they weren't probably going to listen. It's not like you're doing this instead of anything else. It's not like you're not going to leave them a voicemail and you're not going to send them an email. You're doing this in addition. So if they're not a video person, then great, but so many people these days are. Number two, beyond personalized video, is to offer virtual options. And I think that many of us are already maybe doing this. By the way, how much time do I have? What time is it? 9:21. We're good. I think many of us are probably already offering virtual demonstrations. We've probably, in many cases, we've jumped on board with that. And I understand the pluses and minuses. But, you know, because if the person is not on the phone, then you don't have control. And if you're not in front of them, then you have less control, you have less ability to, you know, to kind of go through the sales process. So like, I get how virtual options have disrupted and have made things in some ways more difficult, but in a lot of ways, they're also far more efficient. And again, if you're afraid to do virtual options for your clients, virtual consultations, there's a good chance that your competitors are too. And if your competitors are afraid to do something, then that's usually an indication that you should be thinking about a way that you can do it. Because usually everybody just does the same thing. You know, in most industries, everybody does just about the same thing. And it's that disruptor that goes and takes that extra step that jumps out in front of everybody else, sets the trend, and then everybody's trying to catch up to them. So if you haven't started to offer virtual options, really give it its due. And then there's texting. Yeah, I'm amazed at how many clients that we work with that don't have a process in place to text customers. You know, we want to call somebody, we want to get them on the phone right away, we want to email them. But here's the thing: texting is by far the preferred method of contact for people. You know, it's not even close. It's 8% more preferred than talking on the phone. So again, I'm not saying you do one or the other. It's just that many companies are not doing any of the most important one. You know, so I would recommend that if we do nothing else, that we implement a process to text our customers, because that is the best way for them to get back to us, right? They can get to us when they want to. Whereas if you leave somebody a voicemail, oftentimes they're not even going to listen to it, and they're going to go, why don't they just text me? We can still maintain conversation. And let's face it, email is way too crowded for most of us. You know, in the time that we've been on this webinar, I bet everybody has 35, 40 emails in their inbox that they have to respond to. It's just too crowded. I know I do. You know, but a text message, I've got fewer of them because fewer companies are using text to communicate with customers. So there is a better chance that I'm getting to you. And I think that I'm not alone. So we definitely want to be using texting to improve that follow-up process with people. So if we're doing those three things, I think that it's pretty safe to say that those items are far less common than a lot of the typical follow-up procedures. And if we're doing those things, that it enables us to get after leads that are higher up in that funnel. So yeah, it gives you the ability to buy more opportunities, get less expensive opportunities. And so there's a few lead providers, and you know, I use Yelp as an example. And one of the reasons that I use Yelp as an example is that if everybody's video was on and I said, if everybody could raise their hand if they have negative feelings about Yelp, I'm guessing that most of the hands would go up. And most of the reason that I see people have negative feelings about Yelp is, number one, that, you know, they have this reputation for, you know, extorting people and giving you higher placement and showing more of your reviews than you if you pay them money, right? Which is no different than any other platform, by the way. I mean, will Google not show you higher if you pay them money? You know, will Facebook and Instagram not show your ad to more people if you pay them? So I think that just is what it is. And I don't even know that it's true about Yelp. But also, we see lots of clients that have Yelp messages that come through their inbox from customers who are interested in buying, but they don't necessarily get handled very well because they're Yelp leads, and they tend to be more, again, higher up in the funnel, not quite ready. But again, if you and all of your competition feel exactly the same way about a particular lead source, then from a business owner's perspective, my brain automatically goes to, that is probably a lead source that I ought to be paying attention to, assuming there are customers using it, assuming customers actually care about it. And I mean, we work with tree services, we work with roofing companies, we work with home renovation contractors who are using Yelp. And the number of customers, the volume of customers using that service to try to get information is huge. but the quality of the experience that they typically get from a contractor is very, very low. Kind of because the source is like sort of shunned in some ways. But if that can be elevated, using some of the strategies that we talked about a few minutes ago, then all of a sudden you've created a revenue source for your business that none of your competitors want anything to do with. And to me, as a business owner, that's where I want to be. I want to be finding opportunities like that. The stuff that my competition just goes, I don't want that. I go, cool, let me figure out how to make it work for me. I don't care what you guys are doing because I'm in business for me, not you. So having a really good process enables you to take advantage of opportunities like that. Facebook leads, Instagram leads, TikTok leads. We're doing a lot with TikTok now. If we're not on TikTok, you got to get on that. You got to get on that bandwagon. And I'll be happy to have a one-to-one with you sometime, or a chat with you sometime to walk through how we're using it. But it's one of those things that don't miss the boat, because if your target audience isn't there right now, they will be in 5 to 10 years. So this is my presentation, and we're basically at 9:28 here. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that it's maybe sparked a couple of thoughts in your mind as to how you could implement some of these suggestions into your process. And I'm more than happy to share more experiences, take questions, help apply some of this to you, whatever the case may be, while we've got a couple more minutes.
Hey, Brad, if you could put your contact information in the chat, please, so that people can talk to you afterward. And what we'll do is, for those who have to jump off at 9:30, do so, because I think you've got some great ideas of be the disruptor, use Loom, Loom, and text your customers. Actually, I thought even for this meeting, I just made Jack's life even more worse in that, we could send out a text at 8 o'clock in the morning. Hey, don't forget the meeting at 9 o'clock to learn about this stuff. So, Bradley, thank you so much. And if you have questions, jump in. And if you got to go, we understand, but
please,
I'm here.
I got time. Next thing I'm doing is going to, oh, hey, Julie. Good to see you too. Next thing I'm doing is coming to see you, Matt.
Perfect. And we're going to talk about this. What we're going to do is we're going to take this video that we've done this morning. We're going to send it out to our membership. And then this afternoon, Brad is going to be on our television show, Building NH. And that's going to go out to all the cable community cable access channels in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Eastern Massachusetts. So we're going to take Brad's message that you're getting for free today, again this afternoon, and we're going to send it out throughout northern New England. So we're doing a lot for you at the Homebuilders. So
it's the idea.
Any questions?
Cool.
Brad, you mesmerized them. Everyone's educated. Everyone's ready to go.
Something like that. Or everybody's asleep. Well, we'll have this recorded. If folks want to watch it, they certainly can. If you want to put it on the website, but yeah, I just love this stuff because, like I said, I cut my teeth in the car business, where most of the people who are getting in touch with you, they're shopping 3 or 4 dealers, right? And so you're in direct competition. It's a race to the bottom as far as pricing goes. Maybe not quite as much anymore because of limited supply and excess demand, but everything always comes back around and gets back to an equilibrium point. You know what I mean? Like new competitors come in when that's the case because they see that profit is available. So they take it, and then all of a sudden you just end up at this equilibrium, right? It's like freshman year economics. But in the car business, it was like all about, you must be following up with your customer, because frankly, they are not going to buy from you if you're not right on top of them. Okay, Richie Rich, go ahead. And then Ricky.
I got the whole funnel aspect of it. Can you
Yep.
touch on prospecting to get people who may not be already in the funnel to start considering you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. What's your business?
We're contractors, roofing, siding, windows, and doors.
Okay, perfect. So, well, I mean, I think a little bit depends on how aggressive you want to be and what you Well, let's put it this way. If I own a roofing company, I'm not sure if this is legal or not necessarily. I'm not sure what kind of response I might get on this. But for instance, if I'm going by somebody's roof and I can visit, you can see when a roof is in visible need of repair, right? Ricky came out to my house one time and looked at one side of my roof and was like, "It's fine, it's all good," and then walked around to the back and goes, "Oh man, that thing's gonna cave in. You need to replace that." And he was right. It didn't cave in because they did it first. But you can kind of visibly see, right? So if you're outside somebody's house and you can kind of see that their roof needs to be done, or you can see that there's a spot where like a shingle is peeling off or some sort of an issue. I mean, I personally would have no problem walking out there in front of that house going, "Hey, what's happening? My name is Rich. I just happen to be in your neighborhood because we're working with somebody right down the street. I just wanted to ship this your way because I noticed that your roof might be in need of replacement, or that you have a leak up there, a potential leak up there that could be a potential problem. I'm happy to get a crew out here. It's not going to cost you anything. They'll just get up there, they'll take a look and give you an idea of what that type of thing is going to cost." Now, obviously, getting that person's contact information, you need a way to get the video to somebody. So if you don't have contact information for that person, then you obviously can't do that. But I will also say that if there's a way for you to get contact information to that person, or for that person, if you can somehow, attract people to your website and give them something that inspires them to want to know more about your company or what you do, then that's a good way to get an email as well. For us, for instance, like let's say I see your truck parked in downtown Portsmouth, which is where our office is, right? And I see that you are a roofing company, and I look up your company and I find you online and I see that, oh, okay, the year in the footer of his website says 2019. And I don't know that it does. I'm just saying, like, we see that a lot. Oh, the year of 2019 shows up in his footer, which means that his site's probably not being actively maintained. And it looks like there's no phone number in the top right-hand corner, which makes for a bad user experience because people are usually browsing from their phones and they want easy access to your phone number. So I may look your information up, find out who owns the company, and shoot a quick video and just say, "Hey, Rich, I'm on your website right now. I just wanted to offer you a couple of quick pieces of advice. First of all, great job. Your site ranks really prominently in search. There's just a couple of things that I think you may want to look at. Our team would be more than happy to handle these things for you, or you could probably have your web person handle these things and then show you, send it directly to you." And the thing is, like, you may watch it, you may not. But I know that if I'm a salesperson and I'm paid on commission and I send out 20, 30, 40 of those a day, as opposed to making 20 or 30 or 40 phone calls a day, cold calls, I'm probably going to get a better response with the video. And we have, it's not even close. So I just think it just depends on the customer, but I always err on the side of delivering value in advance and not asking for anything in return, but just offering. Ricky and I were talking about this $100 million offers book earlier today by this Alex Hormozy, and he had this really cool TikTok yesterday where he talks about if you hold something that somebody wants way back here and you tell them that they have to give something to you in order for you to give that thing to them, then they might feel a little bit icky about it. They may feel a little icky about it. Like, for instance, if you say to somebody, "Hey, we'll give you a gift card if you write a review for us. We'll give you a $5, $10 gift card if you write us a review." People may feel a little icky about that. But if instead you just flip those two things around and you say, "Hey, here's a $10 gift card. By the way, would you mind writing us a review?" They're infinitely more likely to do it because you've already given the value in advance. And people have a natural inclination to want to reciprocate. There's a great book by Robert Cialdini called Influence. And he talks about the 7 levers of influence that we can pull as people. And one of them is reciprocity. One way to influence another person is to give. And you're likely to start receiving things in return because they want to make it even. They don't just want to take. And that study's been done a million times. That's the reason why the server at Olive Garden gives you a little Andes Mint, because the Olive Garden knows that by doing that, the server gets a 17% higher tip. It's just been documented. It's been studied. It's not an accident. So that's a very long-winded, drawn-out, yammering type of answer to your question. But I always think that erring on the side of giving value in advance is a good, positive step in the right direction for you, no matter what you're doing with this.
I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Sure. Ricky, how do you motivate your team to follow you in the video sends? Talk to me a little bit more about that. What do you mean by that? Oh, do you mean how do I get my team to also send out videos?
Yeah, or is it just you that sends out all the videos?
Well,
do you have
no, I
automation
mean in the business development side of my group, we all send videos. It's part of the process. It's just straight up, it's part of the process. When I hire somebody, it's like, this is how you follow up, or this is how you go over a proposal. You don't just send a proposal and say, I'll follow up with you in 3 days. You send the proposal, you accompany it with a video to walk through all of the details, and then you follow up the next day to make sure that they watch the video, and you can see whether or not somebody has viewed your video. Many times they can comment right on it. Again, it depends on the software that you're using, but you can see when it has happened. Now, I get a lot of people that call me and ask me questions about the proposal that I addressed in the video, and I'm fine with that. But like, if they had watched the video, it would have been answered. So that's how I know it's a good thing to do. But many people just want to call and talk about it, don't understand why you're sending them a video. It's actually harder for me to get customers to watch it because it's so unexpected. They don't realize that it's coming. Nobody does it. So I don't have a hard time getting my team to do it because they see the significant change in productivity when they do. Sometimes it's just getting clients to adopt it because it's so unexpected that they don't even know what to do with it. They skim right past it. That's why in Loom, the video thumbnail is so huge, because it literally shows you moving. And if I'm showing somebody's website, or if I'm outside of somebody's house, then they see that and they go, oh, that's my house. Oh, that's my website. And all of a sudden personalization kicks in. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta be a little careful, right? You gotta be a little bit careful. But again, as long as you're offering value in advance, and as long as you're doing it in a way that's that doesn't seem stalkerish, again, that's why I said at the beginning, you got to find what works for you. Sometimes it's also not a bad idea. Like, let's say, for instance, you have contact info for somebody and you happen to go to their home because you know where their home is and whatever. Shoot an email over first and say, hey, I took a quick video of the outside of your home and I show a couple of areas that might be problematic for you over the next 12 to 18 months. Do you mind if I send it over to you? Like, get them to opt into it first, get them to say yes. And then once they say yes, they will always watch it, because people, again, another lever of influence, people want to remain consistent with what they said they were going to do. So if they say they're going to watch it, or if they say, yes, they're interested in knowing more about problems with their home, then they want to rationalize that in their minds. And so they'll be far more likely to do it. Just like writing a review. If they say, yes, I will write you a review, thanks for that gift card, 99% of the time they're going to do it because they want to be honest. So, yeah. And Ricky, I think it's also just modeling the behavior. And in some cases, understanding that some people are not necessarily all that photogenic. So if you have somebody, or they don't really like being on video, or you wouldn't want them on video because they wouldn't know to hold the camera a certain way, or they wouldn't know to look at a certain spot in the camera the way that you would, because you've been doing this for years. Like, they wouldn't know to clear up the thing in the background that would potentially be offensive to the person viewing the video. So, so sometimes you as a business owner, I think, have to be careful of it, but there's nothing that good training can't overcome. And also, if you happen to have somebody sitting in the office who's particularly photogenic and particularly outgoing and gregarious, and part of her job or his job is to send those videos, then that just allows you to streamline it a lot more. So either way, I think you figure out a way to do it, figure out a way to make it happen. It's just a matter of what works for you and what works for your company.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you bet.
Well, Brad Solomon, thank you so very much. Thank you for being a member of the Home Builders. We appreciate you. You bring value to us every single day. Thank you. You're helping us with the home show. You help us with so many things. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait for the home show. My kids are looking forward to it. It's like our Super Bowl. I love going to home shows.
Outstanding.
They
Speaking
end
of,
up with a
we'll have-
huge bag full of stuff, and I get to know a lot of people, and they're the life of the party.
We're gonna have
Sometimes we buy stuff. A lot.
We're gonna have 200 vendors. We've got 14 vendors for our spirits, beer, and wine garden that we've never had before. We're having an antiques appraisal alley, kind of like antique home show that we've never done before. We're also bringing in the Patriot cheerleaders. So,
Oh boy,
something for everyone, plus 200 vendors. But
cool.
Brad Solomon from SE Digital, thank you so much for educating us. Thank you for helping us.
Sure.
I got to get off this call because I got to sign up for Loom and get some stuff going. So this is awesome. And, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today in this webinar. We'll do it again. Brad's amazing. We're going to do this often. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day and be well.
Thank you.